We are
Gilbert.
and George. We are here in Hobart to celebrate the opening of our art exhibition.
The last time that we had an exhibition in Australia was in 1973 when we did the singing sculpture in Sydney and in Melbourne. And it was quite an event for us because we used to do the singing sculpture every single day, and the evening we used to be drunk the whole night away with all the Australians who were very happy to be with us.
Celebrating. It was an extraordinary event. It took over the whole of Australian newspapers, and there were competitions even to be like Gilbert and George, and there were winners of the competition. We even did a drinking sculpture with the interviewer, and they used that as an interlude on television for many years.
For many, many years, just drinking gin and tonic.
So in a strange way, just doing those two shows in Sydney and Melbourne 43 years ago now, and it became part of our history and part of Australian art history.
Yes.
We believe it's already in the school curriculum for art history for children, modern art in Australia.
But in some way, they felt they had enough. They never invited us back. They tried to invite us back many, many times to do shows, but they never materialized. I don't know why. We went to Sydney, and we went to Sydney, we went to Melbourne, we went to Brisbane, nearly did a show, but nothing happened. Except we had a small show in Monaco last year, and the curator of that exhibition was Cristiano Raimondo, and he went through the park, I don't know which park, and he met Olivier Véran. And they were discussing this whole idea that I had a show that maybe they should be taken to Tasmania.
And that's how it happened. Main central core is quite extraordinary because it's more than 40 pictures from the collection of the late Massimo Martino. His widow took over the collection. She's adding to it, so it becomes a real modern collection. He collected very few artists, but each one very intensively. So he has works from 1971 right up until recent years. And then outside of that core of the exhibition, there's a huge group bang in the beginning of the show of our scapegoating pictures, the ones which took on new resonance with the bombing and the horrors in Paris. And then we have the London pictures, which are also full of teenage and terror and fears and all these killings and so on. And then beyond that, it's the...
We have the Jack Freak. We started out with the Jack, what you call the Freak, and then we added the Jack on top of it. And so I thought they are quite relevant for Australia.
Absolutely.
And after that, the third part is pieces that they are the shockable pieces that we could never sell, like naked shit pictures and all the stuff that's more complicated. They belong to us, so that part is ours. And then at the end, number 4, is the big room where we show the very big pieces because the walls are taller.
And that includes the big triptych, scapegoating, which is extraordinary to show it here. I think we've always been involved with the content and the meaning. We were brought up in an art world and with art schools that were almost entirely to do with form. They're like shapes and lines and contours and angles and squares and rectangles, circles. And we wanted an art which was to do with death,
Hope,
life,
fear,
sex,
money,
race.
and religion.
And all of those things were taboo in the early 70s. You only had to do black, white, grey, brown, leather, stone, truth to materials. And we wanted an art which was like our first years in London. We were in the Tottenham Court Road, the centre of London. And we were next to Soho, we were next to Covent Garden. Outside was Foyle's bookshop, the most famous bookshop in the world, Tottenham Court Road, full of all the latest technology. 2 yards from Trafalgar Square, from the Houses of Parliament, and we felt we were in the centre of the universe, and we wanted to make an art which could approach anyone, any visitor to London, wherever they came from, whatever their educational background or religion or creed.
And very interesting because at that time in 1968-69, the art world was minimal or kind of concept art, no? And we tried to create ourselves like we were stuck outside the system, and we invented the whole idea that we could be the center for our art, that we could speak about our emotions that are part of it, that it's a kind of human art, that is to do, like we started out at the beginning, we were all in what they call in Regent's Park because we felt so lonely, unhappy, but the weather was still very beautiful. Then we made some money through art. Then we did drinking pieces because we were all happy that we could be something. Then after that we did the bloody life pieces because already with too much drinking the life became very bloody in some way. And then we did so there's all the emotions that are inside a human person we made into kind of sculpture. We made it human and it became a kind of living sculpture at that time, living art.
We realized very, very early on that we were against the grain because we did one of the most earliest shows in 1971 in Düsseldorf in one of the 5 galleries in the world that dealt with young modern artists. It was a tiny, tiny art world. And we had a very successful opening and everyone had a good time. We had dinner and we all got drunk and we even sold a picture, I think. And we came into the gallery the next morning and the lady was cleaning away the remnants of the private view and the owner of the gallery was looking very miserable and downcast. And I said, "What's the matter? Do you have a hangover?" And he said, "No, no." So we managed to find out what was wrong with him in the end. And he said, "Oh, it's the cleaning woman. She likes your exhibition." And we realized that we had to be anti-elitist. He couldn't bear that what he thought was a normal person liked the show. So we realized at that moment that people were using taste and preferences in art as a weapon against people they believed to be socially or educationally inferior to them. And we wanted to cross that barrier, that we didn't have to make an art that just spoke to people of a certain class in London, Paris and New York, a universal art.
Yeah, and then we invented, it took a while, we invented our own form how to make pictures. At the beginning we did just living sculptures because we had nothing more than that. And after the gallery showed, why don't you leave something behind? You know? So we did these big drawings that everybody seems to like more than what we are doing now even. They love drawings because they think it's still art. Art has been made by the human hand. You know? But we didn't like that because for us that kind of art didn't speak. It was not aggressive enough for attacking the viewer in some way. So we invented the idea with what they call the negative, to create a kind of Rembrandt with negatives. No? We wanted to make an artwork like Rembrandt, no? And so that we were able to create a language that we can use everything that is out there can be included in our pictures quite easily. And we were very keen in doing very big shows always for the public. That's very important for us. So we did so many big museum shows all over the world, one after another, because we feel we want to speak to our public. We want to confront the viewer with our feelings, with our emotions, and to see how it feels to be in front of our pictures.
And we realized the power of the negative image, the formality and the simplicity of a realism using the negative image. Because you can walk through museums and you see couples with their children walking through. They don't bat an eyelid at 2 naked tribal sculptures. They don't worry about life-size marble nudes or bronze nudes or oil painting nudes. That you can see the flagellation of Christ or the rape of the Sabine women. As long as it's oil paint and old and dead, they don't mind. But the reality of up-to-date figurative art using the negative is much more real, much more alarming, and much more actual of our time. It's our language, the same as the cinema or the news.
And we even started to use a lot of words in our art, like what I call, especially in recent works, we started to abuse, let's say, a certain people because we always fought prejudice, non-stop, to man, sex, what I call the religion prejudices that are outside there, and full of other prejudices, non-stop battling for that kind of stuff. And that's why even the scapegoating pictures are like abusing what you call a certain person that we feel did a lot of harm to us.
We always had this enormous gulf between the media and the vast general public. So we had the newspapers and the television having a problem with certain aspects of our work or some points of our morality, And out there, the vast general public absolutely adoring us. So why that gulf exists, we don't quite know really.
Because we believe very much that we are doing a different kind of art. We are doing a kind of moral art, and the other ones are doing an art for art's sake art. And that is different, because it's only formalism in some way. And even now, like we did in London, the banners, no, they're all up in arms. One newspaper is up in arms and one is loving it all, but at the same time they are not able to spell it out completely. It's not allowed, forbidden. They are not allowed to say fuck.
That's right.
We like it when we have the support of the general public. We always remember the story of the 3 American collectors who came to London from different parts of America to see our show at White Cube in Hoxton. And they arrived and they stayed the night in the hotel, and they hadn't seen each other for a while. So in the taxi going to the gallery, they were discussing works of art which they owned of us and which ones they were trying to buy. So one lady said, I bought shit on spit, but I really wanted blood on tears. And the other one said, blood on tears? I was really dying to have that. I've got piss on spunk now, but I'm very pleased. And then they realized that the nice London taxi driver was listening with enormous interest. And one lady felt a bit embarrassed, so she leaned forward and said, driver, I hope you don't think we're vulgar Americans back here, or swearing or something. And the driver said, no, no, no. And she said, we're not swearing at all. We're discussing modern art. And the driver said, oh, must be that Gilbert and George then. So support comes from all quarters.
A lot of new freedoms, I really believe that. We know that you need new freedoms. Even when you look at Africa or certain parts of in Russia, all the what they call so many what do things are taboo, no, compared to the West. No, we are liberating ourselves through the Enlightenment, no. But still, even we had to fight a meeting 20 or 40 years ago. How a person was pursued, it was totally different than now.
The world is a different place from when we were baby artists. Yeah? 67, we'd only just come partially out of sexual decriminalisation. Yeah? We believe that we are all part, yourself and the people in Hobart, Australia, part of a great big Western triumph that came from Greek, Roman, Judeo, Christian secularism. And that's an enormous achievement. We are unashamedly proud of that. We did it all. We went all over the world. Even today, every young person can visit more foreign countries than ever before in the history of mankind. There are more cuisines even now than ever before. Travel, information, libraries, museums filled with letters and documents. And we have an enormous heritage, but we believe that we want to take things forward.
I remember, like when we started out, they asked, why would you put a black person in a picture? They told us we shouldn't do that. No? Why should we have a naked person in a picture? They told us not to do that. So everything was in some funny way, or being against religion, that you shouldn't do that. It's fantastic. Even now, the whole world is in turmoil because of religion. It didn't used to be, now it is. It's not going to be not going away for many, many years. And that is the freedom, what the creativity, I think, is the way through. That you are able to be different, you are able to think different. That is the most important part of it. More than politics, more than religion, being able to think different.
I think we want to provide the opportunity for change within the viewer. We don't know what to tell them. We don't know more than they know. But together we say that our art is the friendship formed between our pictures and the viewer.
Even we love very much where the emotion of happiness, no? That you are able to express that emotion, or being sad, that we are able to express that, or an emotion of total beauty, that we are not, it feels like if you do total beauty, there's always one word from what they call the so-called artistic kitsch. It's an extraordinary idea. They see for color, they call it kitsch instead of extreme emotional beauty.
We always say that red, blue, green and yellow are not our invention. We have no rights over that. They don't belong to us. That's part of the world. Eh? No one would walk through the public gardens or the tropical gardens in Hobart and look at all the extraordinary flowers and say, what a lot of kitsch flowers. They wouldn't say that because they fondly imagine that it comes from nature or God or Jesus or something. Only when it's man-made do they feel they have to have an opinion.
And so how have you managed to get away with being so kind of provocative and using such taboo imagery and language for so long? What's the secret?
I think we became the untouchables, like in India. Know what I mean?
I think we use many, many devices in order to do that.
Yes.
I think we've never actually been coarse. It's very little understood. People think that we're very vulgar and rude. We've never actually been coarse. We've always been very simple. We've always had two-dimensional pictures on the wall. We never had dog shit or buckets or umbrellas. All of those cliches of modern art, we didn't want. We want the most boring thing, a two-dimensional picture, like every National Gallery has. And as the young lady we spoke to once who took her mother and grandmother to our Tate Modern exhibition in the hope of getting them aroused or cross or something, yeah? And they went through the exhibition, they came out, and the daughter said to the mother and the grandmother, so what did you think? And the mother said, well, I'm not entirely sure of all of their pictures, but they do dress so nicely, dear. So we got away with it.
I mean, we want to be true to ourselves. True to ourselves, that is the most important part. We never wanted to exaggerate or trying to lie about what you call, but it has to be ourselves. You know, our vision has to be us. You know? And if they like it, that's fantastic. If they don't like it, we have to live with that. You know? But it is our personal vision, and I think art should be like that.
Our art depends more than any other art, response of the individual. A lot of art is just what it is, and you tell the viewers what it is, and that's it. Ours depends on the life of the viewer. It depends where you went to school, what your educational background is, what your religion is, what your sexual life is. When journalists say, could you please talk us through this picture? I said, well, I can do that, but first of all, I have to find out all about you. If I wouldn't be talking you through it, I'd be talking me through it.
And we are quite excited about this big show because we realize that our early work, they don't date. They look completely like being done yesterday. Even the subject and everything is just fantastic.